Slay Your Goals members, all I say is just read your goals daily, right? I mean, so many parallels to this. And they couldn't figure out why women were dying until they finally decided to wash their hands before surgery after doing the autopsies. And women stopped dying. Many times, it's not the person who's delivering the message, his ability to actually reach you. Many times, it's not what's happening around you. Oh, I can't believe, why black folks do black folks like that. That's not it. There is something that you are supposed to do that is as simple as washing your hands that you have not done, an action that you were supposed to take that you did not make, that has sent you down a path of death. When if all you did, it's been offered. One of the things I've been talking about, Slay Your Goals, $37 a month. Somebody has listened to that year over year, month over the month, and they're still trying to figure out, why can't I get this done? Just wash your hands. Just wash your hands. The decisions we make ultimately lead to the paths we take in life. The paths that we take in life. So here's the big question as we go into the second hour. Will your decisions in 2024 lead you towards your best life, an average life, or the worst life you could possibly live?
If you wanna be about it, come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. It's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams.
I want to talk about this idea of taking purposeful action. Taking purposeful action. And first, let me start here. I was I was in the car this morning, and before I take off, typically I'll sit in the garage or pull right outside the garage, close the door, and I'll search my phone for some type of something to listen to. Sometimes I drive in silence, other times I want to listen to something. And today I was, looking through the phone, and I was like, I'm talking about taking action. Let's see what's out there, what other perspectives are, outside of my perspective on taking action. And I pulled up this video by Les Brown. Les Brown, man, he's that brother, right? And Les Brown started talking about why we don't take action. And in the eloquent way that Les Brown does it, he began to talk about how we know there's a thing that we're supposed to do, and one day passes and another day passes, and still we don't do it. And this thing lays on our list, and it tugs at us, and we realize that we're procrastinating. And as we realize that we're procrastinating, we try to shake ourselves, and we begin to ask ourselves, why don't I do this thing that I know I'm supposed to do? And as he's talking, I started to get emotional. And the reason I started to get emotional is because I've been there. I've been there. And I'm listening to Les Brown as he, is motivating this audience to take action. And I can remember listening to Les Brown in the same way 20 years ago. And I was on the other side of that message. Instead of being in full agreement with him, I was questioning myself. Why am I not doing? Like this, I'm at a point in my life now where I was like, yes, Les, right? But I went from that to, man, this used to be you. Like you've lived this reality. This was your reality at one point in your life. I can remember in my early 20s, I was sharing with the masterclass audience yesterday. I can remember my early 20s getting kicked out of college. The reason I got kicked out of college is because I didn't take small actions that I knew I was supposed to take. Real simple. Go to class. Read your textbook. Do your homework. Very small actions that some would say, well, Linnell, why didn't you do it? And I just didn't. At that time in my life, I didn't have the capacity. Like something was holding me back. And I don't know if it was fear. What I do know is I didn't know why I should do it. I didn't have a why. I couldn't correlate the actions that I should take to a bigger outcome. I remember before I even went to school, I was trying to figure out, well, why am I going to school? And I went to school because other people, that's what you're supposed to do. Everybody else I know is going to college, so I guess I should go to college. But I didn't know why I was going to college. And when I look back on it, it's not a shock that I flunked out because I didn't know why I was there. I didn't know why I was doing the work. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I joined the School of Engineering. They accepted me. And I went to high school because I had to. I did the work in high school because I had to. My why was to avoid the wrath of my parents. And that was my why. But when I got outside of their home and the why came down to me, I wasn't really clear on why. And that extended itself. Got kicked out of college. I remember I had a job wiping down cars. I would see these beautiful cars come through this car wash, man. And these individuals who were driving these cars, and I don't know if any of you all can relate when you see someone doing something or living at a level that seems so far out of reach. Like, you're like, how do they do that? I'm sensitive to that, like, because I understand like how fleeting it is, and it's just like, how is that possible? How can somebody drive around in a car that's $100,000? Like, how is that possible? I'm trying to figure out how to make $100, and they got 3 zeros behind something they're just driving. Like, how is that possible? I remember being confused. I remember, like, really seemingly today, easy actions being incredibly difficult to take. So anyway, I'm in the car, I'm listening to Les Brown, and I start to get emotional. Like, man, I remember what it's like for it to be so difficult to take an action that I know I'm supposed to take. There were 2 actions that I can recall in my early 20s that I did take that made all the difference. And if you ever wonder why I do the work that I do, like, these 2 stories will really help you understand a little bit more about me. So in the master class yesterday, and I see the phone call, Sarah. If you were in the master class, I definitely want to answer your question. Anybody else who has questions, please give me a phone call. And one of the first actions was actually going to see the gentleman that my mom has set up for me as a potential mentor. And that might seem simple, like, well, why wouldn't you do that? And by the way, I was struggling. So I'm broke. My job is I wipe down cars at a car wash and I collect tips. I made commission on certain, like if the car needed a buff or a wax, I made commission on that. And in a good week, I might walk away with $200, right? In a good week. That's a good week. Like, it's like not normal. I might walk away with $200. If I was like, people were tipping nice, and typically they tip better in the winter. The summertime, they're like, you're fine, young man. And my mom, she met this gentleman. He spoke at Wheaton College. She met this gentleman, African-American gentleman. She went to him, stood in line, and she got him to agree to hold an appointment with me. His office was downtown. It was downtown. It's like Lake and LaSalle, something like that, And my job was to get to him, to set up an appointment and get to him. I remember calling his secretary. Hey, Linnell Harris, I'm supposed to set up some time. The appointment was like a month and a half out. And the day the appointment came, I remember it because I had trekked out how I was going to get to this gentleman's office. Now, mind you, it was on a work day. So I really want you all to hear me out, because I think sometimes you may not be in the same situation, but some of us are in like parallel situations, okay? So it's a work day. It's like a Wednesday or something like that, which means I have to take off work from my car wash job. And that's the only revenue I'm getting. And so how I saw it, remember, on a good week, I'm making $200 a day. So how I saw it is I was going to void myself of maybe $40 or $50 that day on a good day, right? And Wednesdays were not good days, like it was the weekends, right? So I'm voiding myself of about $30, $40 for that day's work. When I think about it, it's insane. to go to see this gentleman. And I'm actually questioning in my mind if it's worth it for me to go. Now, right now, everybody listening to me is like, yeah, you should go. But I just want us to think about where we are doing this in our lives, where you feel like what you need or what is coming to you, you need it so bad that you're willing to forego the potential of changing everything. Today, I want to talk about taking action, like choosing our path. And one of the reasons I was going back and forth in my mind about going to see this gentleman, remember I'm 22 years old, is because in order to get to him, I had to take the number 17 bus to the Des Plaines L's, the blue line. Then I had to get on the blue line, ride it all the way into the city, transfer, get on the red line and ride a bit up north, and then get off the red line and take another bus, right, over to LaSalle, get off and walk for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm going through it. It's going to take me 90 minutes to get to this. It's going to take my entire day for a 30-minute meeting. And I'm trying to figure out if the $35 to $40 I would make that day is more important than spending, because I got to spend money, right? I got to spend money on the bus, the train, the transfer, whatever. Back then we had the paper transfers. Y'all don't know nothing about that. The paper transfers, you get on the bus and he poke a hole in your transfer. You only had so many holes that you can get on your transfer. If you're on Facebook and you're watching, you remember that, give me some hearts. The young folks are shaking their head like, what is he talking about? Okay. And I'm trying to figure out if going to see this man, who, by the way, is the CEO of his own company with an office downtown, I'm trying to figure out if going to spend 30 minutes with this man is worth it, because I'm going to miss out on $35 to $40 that day. Like, man, it makes me want to cry, because the decision changed my life. I go. And I don't go happily. My attitude is, this is stupid. My mama always trying to do something. She always, like, I'm mad at her for setting me up with the gentleman. I'm questioning everything about this potential meeting with this guy, this man. And I remember I get to the office and my attitude now, like, it's almost like it's a gift for me to be there. Like, how many of you ever been in that place? Like, it's a gift for me to be here. I have no idea the gift he's going to give me. I sit for 15 minutes. I'm annoyed, like I have something to do. I'm making $5 an hour. What, did he waste $1 of my time? You know what I mean? Like, really? I get into his office, and he says, your mother loves you. One of the first things he said to me, she stood in that line, and she really asked me to spend some time with you. What do you do? What are you doing? Well, I work at a car wash, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What do you want to do? I don't know. I don't know. She told me about your schooling. Oh, like that was like a dart to the heart. Right? Because it was shameful for me. It was shameful. Like I got kicked out of school. My mom told you? She told you? So now I'm ashamed. I'm sitting in his office. I'm ashamed. I'm looking down. I said, look up, young man. He said, one of the best things that could have happened is that you got kicked out of school and you're sitting in this office now. If you make it that way. I remember him saying that. If you make it that way. Here's what I want you to do. I want you, when you leave this office, to go and find a book by Napoleon Hill. The name of the book is Think and Grow Rich. And for as long as you're willing to come here, you and I are going to go through that book. So can you do that for me? So, yes, sir, I can do that. And Joy asked, where's the guy now? Maybe he passed away, Joy. Passed away. Maybe about 10 or 12 years ago. But this is the power of legacy. Because he's still alive. Okay? He tells me to go buy the book. He says, well, it was nice to meet you. I look forward to you coming back. Once you get the book, you read the first 3 chapters. You call, I can't remember her name, secretary, and set another meeting up with me. Those were his instructions. The meeting took all but 15 minutes. Now, do you think when I walked out of his office I was happy? No. And here's the thing, I didn't know how to be happy back then. What I didn't know is how incredibly sad how incredibly sad, how incredibly hurt, how incredibly angry I was at the age of 22. I understand what's going on for a lot of y'all young people. I was just bewildered. I remember leaving his office and cursing his name. I was so frustrated that he only spent 15 minutes with me, and it took me 90 minutes to get there. And now I'm back on the street, walking towards the bus stop, and it's going to take me 90 minutes to get back home. I done spent about $5 to $7 of my money to get out there. I only make about $35 a day. And now, something he told me, he could have, in his office in 15 minutes, he could have told me on the phone. And now I'm riding. I was angry. I was angry. All the way back. I'm stewing. I'm stewing. I get home, about a month goes by. Because you say, Linnell, did you go get the book? No. About a month goes by. My mom asks, she asked how the meeting went. Then she says, when are you going back? You're supposed to go every month, right? When are you going back? I got to call the secretary. So I called the secretary, set up a meeting. I haven't read the book. The meeting's like in a week and a half. Now I got to go get the book. Okay? I go get the book, and I read it, three chapters. I read the 3 chapters in a day, like maybe 2 days before I got to go meet him. And I take the trek back out there again. I get out there. I have a synopsis with me. I have a manila folder. I don't know if you guys remember. Now they come in colors. When I was growing up, they just came in this vanilla color, You had a vanilla folder. I had a vanilla folder with my little synopsis that I had typed up on a word processor, and I had to print out. And to print it out, it cost me money. I had to go to the library. You got to give them a nickel or something, right? To print it out. Then the manila folder probably cost me 10 cents. I'm going back. I'm proud of my synopsis of the first 3 chapters. Sitting his, outside his office for another 15 minutes before I walk in. He goes, Linnell, how are you? He's excited to see me. I'm not excited at all. I'm good, but I played the part. And what did you learn in the first 3 chapters? What did you learn? And I open up my synopsis and I give it to him. And he doesn't read it. I gave him the manila folder. I slide the manila. I'm proud of it. Slide the manila. He doesn't read it. He goes, what is your definite purpose in life? I look at him. What do you mean? He goes, in the first 3 chapters, in chapter 1, Napoleon Hill asks you to identify your desire. And then he also asks you later to identify your definite purpose in life, your why. What is it? Hey, man, I didn't know you wanted me to do the work in the book. I read the book. I'm telling you about the book. And he looked at me. He says, young man, I know what's in the book. I don't need you to tell me about the book. I need you to do what the book is telling you to do. And then he gave me a lesson that I'll never forget. And he told me reading is not about the recognition of symbols on a page. Reading is about comprehension. And comprehension is about executing what it is that you have read. The true definition of reading is not only to read, but to comprehend and to show your comprehension by taking action, by executing what you have read. You did not read the first 3 chapters, young man. And he slid my synopsis, which was about 2.5 pages, from underneath the manila folder, and he folded it in half. He never looked at it. He folded it in half, and then he folded it into a quarter, and it sat in his hand in a quarter, like the quarter of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And he took it and he crumbled it right in front of me. He crumbled my synopsis, and he must have had a trash can behind his desk, and he dropped it in the trash can. He never read it. And as I see my synopsis crumble, rage enters my am. Who does this man think he is? I am angry. And he looks back at me with a stern face. I think he could see I'm angry. I think he wanted to make me mad when I think about it. He looks back at me. He says, young man, go back and read the first 3 chapters of Think and Grow Rich, and then come back to me. And I walk out, the second time I walk out this man's office, and I'm cursing his name again. All the way home, right? And it ain't, if somebody walked past me in the streets, they would have thought I had Tourette's. I'm mad. I took those actions angry. Those actions changed my life. He changed my life because I was willing to miss a day of work twice. $35 a day because I was getting tips. Less than minimum wage because I was on commission. $7 there and back in CTA transfers. He changed my life. He changed my life. He took 15 minutes out of his day twice. And when I really read the first 3 chapters, like when I got back home and I really read it, it became the seed that made me who I am today. That's the first action, the first set of actions I took that changed my life. The second set of actions that changed my life was deciding that I was going to go all in on myself. I was going to stop procrastinating, and I was going to go all in on myself. I told part of the story at the masterclass yesterday. I can remember shortly after that, reading that book started to do something to me. And I can remember shortly after that, I went and got another job. My mom was pushing me. I was working at Kinko. She was like, Linnell, that's fine, but you need to get another job. You need to do better. You can do better. You can do better. And I have an interview set up, but I'm already working. And my mom used to say this thing to me all the time because I used to sleep in. I used to lay around in my 20s, right? I'm 23, 24. I would sleep late into the afternoon if I could. She said, Linnell, the early bird gets the worm, and the late bird never knew the worm was there. She would say that. All right, mama. Whatever. Right? Okay. And I remember laying there one morning. I had an interview lined up that day. I hung out with friends late that night, hanging out, drinking, stuff like that. Now I don't want to go to the interview. I'm like, I got a job already. And I could hear my mom's voice in my head. Linnell, the early bird gets the worm. The late worm never knew the worm was there. And I thought, well, what if there's a worm there? Maybe I should go. Right? And I took action. I took action. And it was Allstate Insurance. I go to the interview and go through the process. They call me, they offer me a job, and it's making the same thing that I make. And here's one of the things that we do. See, I knew it was a waste of my time. So now I want to take all the wisdom I've gained, and I just want you to look for parallels in your own life. I knew getting up was a waste of time. They offered me a job, and it's making the same thing. I could have laid in bed that morning. That's exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, see, you know, these personal development concepts don't work. Whatever's coming to you is going to come to you. It doesn't work. And I began to kind of take on that notion. I turned down a job. A week later, the gentleman that interviewed me, his name was Matt Watosic, called me back and said, hey, look, because they want to give me a mailroom job. Hey, look, I'm looking at your resume. I got another position. And the way you held yourself and you interviewed, I believe that you can do this job. It's a stretch, but I believe you can do this job. Are you willing to take it? And it was a raise. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. The fact that I took action actually changed something. And that changed something in me. Like, I was different after that day. I took that job, and that job led me to phenomenal opportunities, all right, in corporate America, et cetera. You know, 12 years later, I was a vice president and officer in corporate America. That's what happened, all right? With the mentorship I received and taking action, that path took me somewhere else. So why do I do what I do? It's a long story to get to this. One of the promises my mentor made me make early on is if I spend time with you, I need for you to promise me that you will share everything that you learn with other people that look like us, with other people that look like you, with another young man one day. I need you to promise me. Do you promise me? And I remember making the promise like, yeah, all right, man, you know. Because I'm like, you ain't gave me nothing for real yet. And I was like, well, you know. But over the course of the next 2 years, he poured into me. And he taught me concepts that I didn't even fully understand. I didn't get until now. One of the reasons I'm an entrepreneur is because I saw him. I saw him as a CEO and founder. And I'm like, that is possible. The decisions we make lead to the paths we take. 2 decisions in my life that if I hadn't taken them, I wouldn't even be on the air. Yesterday, I took my son to see the Bulls game. In the hallway, I ran into someone I grew up with. He looked old. We're the same age. He looked old. And I just remember thinking, like as my son was walking to the seat, I said, I went to school with him. He was looking at me like, school? Like, y'all were in the same grade? My son asked me that. Like, he looking at me and he's looking at him. He's 6 years old. He's like, y'all were in the same grade? We were in the same grade. He said, wow, Daddy, he looked older than you. I said, I know. It's about the decisions we make, son. It's about the decisions we make. The decisions we make lead to the paths we take. I'm going to tell this story because Ade and I were talking. I'm not going to get into the particulars, but I was sharing with him how often we fall into victimization and we blame other people for what's going on. In the 18th century, and then I'm going to take phone calls in the next hour, you guys, and I'm going to talk about the master class. I'm going to talk about the master class and some of the things that we learned. In the 18th century, there was this fever. I think it was called perpetual fever, something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, the name of it was the Black Death of Childbirth. And this was in the 1800s. And for almost 100 years in Europe, and by the way, this came to America too, this Black Death, this fever. For almost 100 years, doctors could not figure out why women would die 48 hours after giving childbirth. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And at this point in the 1800s, they're past mysticism, they're past all these other things. They're like, we're doctors, we are experts of science. Why can't we figure out why women are dying, 24 to 48 hours after birth? And at one point in parts of Europe, it got up to 70% of women were dying after childbirth. Like, just imagine that, the Black Death of childbirth. Go look it up. And they were looking everywhere else for the problem. They were doing autopsies on the woman in the morning before they would go deliver a child in the afternoon, trying to figure out this problem. What is the problem? Why are women dying? And eventually, Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes told the gentleman, the other doctors, he says, before you support a woman in giving childbirth, you should wash your hands. And that might actually support, them living or not dying of this Black Death of childbirth. And do you know, for 30 years, the doctors ignored him and did not take that action? Very simple action. Wash your hands. And I want you to correlate again, because we can go, ooh, those awful doctors. No, correlate this to your own life. Because where in your life is there a small action that someone has told you to take? And you're like, that's not it. I just gave you my story of how, angry I got when someone suggested something to me. Okay? That's not it. And for 30 years, Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes, who's the father of one of the Supreme Court justices of the United States, for 30 years, he was telling the doctors, just wash your hands and women won't die. And they didn't do it. Slay Your Goals members, all I say is just read your goals daily, right? I mean, so many parallels to this. And they couldn't figure out why women were dying until they finally decided to wash their hands before surgery after doing the autopsies. And women stopped dying. Many times, it's not the person who's delivering the message, his ability to actually reach you. Many times, it's not what's happening around you. Oh, I can't believe, why black folks do black folks like that. That's not it. There is something that you are supposed to do that is as simple as washing your hands that you have not done, an action that you were supposed to take that you did not make, that has sent you down a path of death. When if all you did, it's been offered. One of the things I've been talking about, Slay Your Goals, $37 a month. Somebody has listened to that year over year, month over the month, and they're still trying to figure out, why can't I get this done? Just wash your hands. Just wash your hands. The decisions we make ultimately lead to the paths we take in life. The paths that we take in life. So here's the big question as we go into the second hour. Will your decisions in 2024 lead you towards your best life, an average life, or the worst life you could possibly live? The decisions we make, the paths we take. Like, where are you not taking the action you intend to take? So one of the actions a lot of us took is we joined the masterclass yesterday. And some of you couldn't join the masterclass. We're going to do something about that. Like, I'm going to, for those of you who registered in the past, we haven't done this. I'm going to share the masterclass with you, create another opportunity. I'm not going to let resistance stop me. I was sharing on the break with the Facebook audience. I was frustrated last night. My wife heard me grunting, man. I was at the kitchen table, opened the laptop because a few things, I was getting emails, or I couldn't get in, or the link was wrong, or I'm like, man. And I was just like, right? I was really, and I'm thinking through the process that the team and I went through. Like, man, we double-checked the links. We did this, and it was just, then I started noticing that, Apple Notes looks like it kept the old link. It was like things that whenever you take an action, it will be met by resistance. All intentions have to prove themselves through disruption, period, right? And I'm just thinking about, some of the things that, I'm like, okay, what do we need to do to make this better? How do we make it right for individuals who, one woman sent me an email, said, I spent 40 minutes trying to get into the masterclass. I thought, oh my goodness, it's horrible, right? How do we make it better? And one thing I do know is that whenever you're doing powerful work, whenever you're doing life-changing work, you're always met with disruption and resistance, always. It's just how it goes. Not an excuse. We will do better. Like, it ain't no question. Like, how do we make this super simple? Like, that's the first thing I thought about. One of the things I learned in corporate America was this concept of customer effort. And the idea is to reduce the customer effort score. You want customer effort to be almost at zero. You don't got to do nothing. If you're a customer, you don't got to do nothing, right? And I'm looking at it had me look at my business like, okay, how can we reduce customer effort? Like, how can we reduce potential customer effort across the board in business? One of the things we talked about in the masterclass yesterday is how often we look at failure as something wrong. In essence, yesterday was a success and it was a failure. And the failure has already taught me how we're going to move into business 2024, right? And you can't fail unless you execute on something. You just can't, right? So it wasn't perfect. I don't expect it to be. And I do expect it to be better. So we got some phone calls here, 773-591-1690. What I want to do in this hour is I want to spend time talking about elements of the masterclass. But before we do that, what I covered in the first hour, if you can, Ade, just throw up the framework. What we did is we completed the How to Take Control of Your Life framework. We completed that framework. And what you see is that very last, the fifth element is taking action. Taking action. And there's an opportunity for us to take action. There's an opportunity for us to take action. When will you take your purposeful action, the action that you know you are supposed to take? For some of us, it could be as simple as, joining the Slayer Goals community. It could be go to slayergoals.com right now, join the community. I'm putting the link right now in the Facebook stream. You can use that as well. For others, it could be something different. Whatever it is, how will you move? How will you move? And so taking action is the last part. Taking purposeful action. Purposeful action that is linked intrinsically to your life's why. Your life's purpose. Your life's purpose. So my question was around paring down my goals. I spent a lot of time with them yesterday, and I got it down to 12. This feels like too many, but they also all seem really important. This is a phenomenal question on paring down goals. Okay, so you have 12 goals. One of the things we talked about in the masterclass is that if you're new to the goal setting process, you should not have more than 3 or 4 goals at all. By the way, for those who are experienced in the goal setting process, like myself, I don't have more than 5 or 6. So let's put that out there, right? Now, one of the mistakes that we often make in the goal setting process, Sarah, is we actually make our measures our goals. And so the first thing I would ask you is, how can you potentially put those goals into one of these 4 categories? Number 1, your health and well-being. Of the 12 items that you have on paper, how many of those fall into your health and well-being? Okay. Number 2, your relationships. Of the 12 items you have on paper, how many of those goals fall into the realm of a relationship? Okay. Number 3, of the things that you have, those 12 items on paper, how many of those fall into the realm of work? You know, work you want to do. And if it falls into something entrepreneurial, then it kind of correlates to money as well. So how many of that falls into work and money? And those are 3 of the 4 pillars already. What happens is we'll do something like this. Let me give you an example of what I mean. We'll say, I want to take my physical health to the next level. All right. And then we'll say, I want to learn about nutrition. And we'll categorize those as 2 different goals, when really it's one and the same. Like, you really want to transform your overall health and well-being through exercise and knowledge. And so then I would set a measure for exercise and a measure for knowledge for an overarching goal around my health and well-being.
And looking at hopefully looking at a relationship where I'm getting married this year.
Oh.
And I want right, and I'm looking to invest properly in the property and rental property in the home. And I'm looking forward to some counseling or some financial consultant.
Okay.
To help me out with this.
So Thomas,
organizing myself.
So here's what we're going to do. Anyone who missed the master class, you're going to get a copy of it. Day doesn't know this yet, but he's going to be getting the raw file this morning. And I'll be asking him and potentially the marketing team, we're going to partner to get this out as quickly as possible this week. Okay. We're going to edit it and get it back out to you guys so you can view it. So that's number 1, Thomas. All right. Number 2, I heard goals in multiple categories. Relationship definitely goes around your work. And I mean, you say you're getting married this year. So you want to definitely set a goal around the type of marriage, the type of wedding you want to have, et cetera. That's something you want to partner with your fiance on. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
The most important step before you get to the goal setting process, and Thomas, I would definitely suggest that you join the Slayer Goals community so you can get continual coaching and support on what you're up to, because you're up to a lot. But that's a choice that you can make, no pressure. Like I told them in the masterclass, that community is a phenomenal community. I only want people that are committed and bringing everything they have. Not that you won't, but I'm just saying, no pressure, brother. But
okay,
the very first step that you should take is to gain clarity on what it all will look like in 2024. What kind of wedding? Okay. Like, how do you want that day to go? And before you start writing anything down, Thomas, you want to sit with your fiance and just visualize the day. What do you want to, how will you all feel when it happens? Who do you want to be there? This is how you get clear on the guest list. Like, nah, we don't care about that. We don't care about them being there either. Nope, it's about us. Blah, blah, because people forget that your wedding's about you, But when you have a very clear vision on what you want to create, like, you don't forget it. And so the first step is vision. You talked about something in your business. the first step is vision. What do you want to create in 2024? And not just in a way that you can see it, but what's going to be really important when it comes to vision is the visualization of it, so you can see it in your mind's eye, but you want to be able to feel it too. What will it feel like when you create whatever that is, all the things that you just talked about? What will it feel like? And then the third part I taught in the masterclass is you have to embrace that future possibility. What does it mean to embrace something? Ide's in the studio right now. If I were to embrace him as a brother, I gotta say that, right? As a brother, right? Brothers can hug. All right, if I were to embrace him, if I have him in a strong embrace, he can't go nowhere without me. So what it means to embrace future possibility when it comes to a vision is that you don't go anywhere without thinking about this. Everywhere you go, everything you do, that vision follows you because you have embraced it as a possibility. So I can remember when my wife and I were planning our wedding, I could be on the basketball court and I would see something that would make sense for the wedding. You get them? Oh man, when I get off the court, I gotta call Pam, right? I could be anywhere. I could be in Target looking for a birthday card and I would see something or somebody would have something. I'm like, those shoes would be perfect for the men. You know, like, it's like, you get where I'm going? You embrace the possibility. It goes everywhere with you. It's all you think about. You become obsessed with it. That's what envisioning the result requires. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel? What do you see? And embracing the possibility in a way where you take it everywhere with you. Here's the last part, Thomas. Here's the last part. Once you get clear about it in your mind, you write it down. And when you write it down, you want to use your 5 senses. I hope y'all listening. This is like washing your hands. The whole thing when I told the story about washing your hands, like those horrible doctors, those awful doctors, all those people died. Hey, do you realize that the achievement of your goal might have somebody's life in the balance? How are you different? We're so quick to judge others, but this right here, writing it down, what I'm saying right now, could be simply what require your washing of the hands. Okay? When you get to the 5 senses, here's what you do. You write down what you see. So when I wrote the vision for my wife and I wrote the vision for our wedding, we wrote down what we saw that day. We wrote down what we heard. What I heard is, man, your wife looks beautiful. Right? And she was my wife then. She was no longer my fiance. Hey, this venue is gorgeous. How did you all come up with this? Those are the things that I heard people say. I heard the lapping of the waves against the beach as we were getting married. Like, those are the things I wrote down in my vision. And guess what? It played out to the T. Why did it play out to the T? Because we have creative capacity. But see, we don't even tap into it. And the reason we don't tap into it is because we don't slow down long enough to actually articulate exactly what we want and how we want it to show up. What will you see? What will you hear? What will you feel? What will you smell? I can smell the salt in the air. As we walk into the reception hall, I can smell the scent of the food off to the side. You get where I'm going? When my wife leaned in to kiss me as we finished our nuptials, I can smell the scent of her perfume on her neck. Like that detail. It's your life. If you could literally write a book of your life, this is what it is. This is what it is. And when you set a vision that way, that clearly, what can you taste? I can taste the salt in the air. You get where I'm going? When you write it out that way and you see it that way, what you've done is you started with the end in mind, and now you actually know where you're going and where everything else fits in. You're so clear on it. My wife and I's wedding day, I'm using this as an example, we created the vision together. It was, to this day, one of the most beautiful days of my life. One of the most memorable and beautiful days of my life. And if you don't think there was resistance to getting there, real quick story, I'm going to go to Sarah after this. I was in corporate America at the time, and I had been pushing the previous year for a particular strategy to be implemented, pushing all year long. No, we're not going to do it yet, Linnell. No, we're not going to do it. You know when they wanted me to create the strategy? Right before my wedding. When I'm focused on that vision and that goal. You know what I said? No, I'm not going to. You won't get this strategy. I told my CEO no. You should have saw his face. He turned red. He was like, huh? No. You know where I got my no from? I got my no from my vision. Right? Because if I do this, I can't create that. And I can see that so clearly that I can't do this right now. You'll get it in the third quarter. I get married at the end of the second quarter. You'll get it in the third quarter. I need it in the second quarter, Linnell. No, man. I get married one time. I'm getting married one time. I get one day. And in order for me to execute this day, all my strategic capabilities are going towards this day with my fiance. And if you can't give that to me, then I don't know what to say. Well, we need it by the second quarter. You'll get it at the beginning of the third. And I did it my way. Now, I'm not telling you to go to work and do that, especially if you don't got a clear vision. But here's the thing. If you have a clear vision, then you know when to do it.
What I was going to ask you is, like, if you have any advice for waking up super early. But I guess more of my question is, like, so many of my goals depend on me getting up early. And I've tried so many things, and I just can't get past that, like, building a habit, right? I can't make it past the first week or two. And I don't have a vision problem. I can see the long-term vision, but you're not going to convince Sarah at 5 a.m. that, she needs to get up right now. So I'm curious if you have any advice for, like, getting past that hurdle.
So first, let me normalize your experience. You sound human to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the other thing, Sarah. I've been getting up at 5 a.m. consistently now for, about 8 years. But guess what, Sarah? I'm not getting up by myself. I'm getting up with about 10 to 12 other men who I meet at the gym.
Ooh, that's good.
Intentional accountability.
Okay.
Intentional accountability. And if I don't show up, my text messages will blow up. You understand? Don't let me be 5 minutes late. What's your ETA? So what I would suggest is finding other individuals in your community, other people who have the same problem, and say, what if we all met? What if we did this together? This is, if you remember, one of the things I shared at the masterclass. It was towards the end, and this is one of the reasons why the Slayer Gold community is so powerful, because there are probably other people in the Slayer Gold community who want to get up early in the morning to start what it is that they do. And if there was a small group who was doing it together, they would do it, because that's the power of intentional accountability. But one of the things I shared is that, only 8% of goal setters actually achieve the goal, and one of the major reasons why is intentional accountability. I read this stat from the American Society of Training and Development, where they did a study on accountability and found that you have a 65% chance of completing a goal if you commit to someone else. So that's the first piece, Sarah. Is there someone else in your life, a friend, a colleague, a coworker? It could be an associate. You don't even got to like them that much, but if they're willing to get up at 5 a.m. with you, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's make it happen. And someone that you can commit to. That's number one. But then to take it to another level, if you all set up appointments, and I would say include a few other people and set up appointments with these individuals where you all are committed to showing up at the gym. Or if it's not the gym, it could be getting on Zoom and meditating in silence. But just like, you got to show up on the Zoom, right? You got your face got to be there, or your screen got to be there. It's like, okay, Sarah's here. We don't have to text her. We don't have to call her. Okay, all you guys, we're going to do our meditation now for 20 minutes. And then everybody's on mute or whatever. And there's a, how was that for you? How was that? That's powerful. That's you'll actually begin to now change how you handle your evenings, because when I know I have to meet these men at the gym, we play basketball, right? But and by the way, I enjoy it. So the other thing I would say is whatever you're getting up to, make it something you enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the things we do is we torture ourselves sometimes, and then we wonder why we don't stick to the torture. It's like, you know, but make it something you enjoy. You know, so, you know, what's something that you enjoy doing that you really love? Like, you know, I know a little bit about you. You love dancing. It could be like maybe you guys start with a dance, maybe it's other dancing friends, etc.
Yeah.
And you do something you love that early in the morning, and then you begin to move towards the things that aren't as desirable. But you're up now. So that would be my suggestion. But intentional accountability gets you up, according to the stats, right? Specific accountability appointments with the person you committed to will increase your chance of success by 95%.
Well, I'm 70 years old, young, energetic, but I decided I've done everything that I really wanted to do as far as goals, but I decided to set another one. And I really like artificial intelligence. And so I set up a YouTube site.
Okay.
And I did real good, but I was burning the midnight oil to do it. I created 98 videos, and then I had some technical difficulties, and then I stopped. And I stopped. I got ill and had some problems also.
Okay.
Well, I haven't gotten back to it, and my New Year's goal is to get back to it. And I don't know. I just, fear has popped up into me, and I'm like, well, you're 70 years old. Maybe you shouldn't be doing something like this.
Okay.
I'm sabotaging my own brain.
Yeah. Well, so here's the first piece that I hear. You had a goal, you were working towards something, you were successful in the execution of it, and then your health failed, some other things happened technically, and you lost your momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. That is what we call in coaching, we call that a breakdown.
Oh.
Okay. And by the way, nothing wrong with breakdowns. Breakdowns are human. They happen. Like human beings get ill, and technology has issues, right? So all these things happen. We experienced it yesterday with the masterclass. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's what you do in a breakdown. Like if you want to know what I did last night I was like, okay, what was the actual breakdown? And you go to what caused the issue. You get very clear on what caused the issue. It sounds like your illness combined with technical problems. Okay. Okay. So once you identify that, it's important. Let me say this. What happens for us when we have momentum and something stops us is typically we have some energy about that. All right? Now, and again, remember, we're energetic beings. We emit electromagnetic fields. Like we're energetic beings. And so when I have energy about something and that energy isn't good, that energy will actually hold me from continuing what it was that I built momentum on. Partly because I'm sad that I lost the momentum. Partly because what it would take for me to get back into the practice. We think about all those things, and really it's an energy cycle that we're in because we're incomplete. Our energy about that situation is incomplete. So how do you get complete? I want you to write this down, Ann.
Okay.
The first thing I want you to do is I want you to write down all the emotions you have about this. One of the things we talked about in the masterclass yesterday is that your emotions are your energy in motion. it is very important that you define the energy and motion for you right now about this particular situation so you know what you're up against.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you write down the upset, you write down everything that you're feeling. After you write down everything that you're feeling, then just get clear on the facts. What happened? I got sick. How long was I sick? Like all the facts. Notice any interpretations. Well, I was sick, but I could have kept going. That's an interpretation. No, the fact is you got sick. The fact is there were technical issues. An interpretation would be I should have been able to figure out the technical issues. Like, no, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with what happened. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because one of the things that we do is we get fact and interpretation mixed up all the time. This is why most folks aren't confident, because they get the facts mixed up with the interpretations. I got on stage and I stumbled, right?
Yeah.
So then that's the fact. The interpretation is when I stumbled, everybody thought I was dumb. That's an interpretation. It's like the interpretation is what messes us up, not the fact. The fact is you stumbled and you kept going, right? The interpretation is why we don't get back on stage. And so we keep the interpretations out and we lay out the facts. Once you lay out the facts, then you get clear on your commitment again. This is the next step, all right?
Okay.
What is the commitment? What is it that you said you were going to do? What I heard is you're learning about artificial intelligence and you're recording videos of what you learned. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, which I think is phenomenal for other seniors, because seniors need to learn artificial intelligence, because if the Creator blesses you with another 20 years on the earth, you are going to be surrounded by it. And so they need you to teach them. Because I might not be able to teach them the way that you can, because you have their perspective. So they need you. All right? That's the commitment. I
have a passion for it.
Love it. I love it. So you lay out that commitment and that passion. You write it down. And then all I want you to do is identify the first 3 steps you're going to take to recommit.
Okay.
Here are the first 3 steps they're going to take to get back into action around this. And time bind those steps. And then once you time bind them, right, that means now January 3rd, January 5th, whatever dates that you set, all you got to do is do the work.
A commitment.
That's right. Then you just take the action. How does that sound?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Okay. We need you, Ann. These seniors need you. The ones they don't even know they need you. They're going to need those videos. So they can navigate this new world that's coming.
Yes, there's a lot of good videos on there about.
What's your YouTube channel? Can you share your YouTube channel with us?
It's artificially AI.
I love it. All right, you all, go out there, follow artificially AI, and then when you write down your actions, one of the actions I want you to write down is by when we will get our next video on that channel. Okay? Last few minutes of the show, the last show of 2023. Okay? I want to just tell you all, one, how much I appreciate you. I appreciate you all for the support throughout 2023, the support throughout the last 10 years. This is my 10th year on radio, you all. You know, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary this year. I celebrated over 10 years in business. Inspirational Perspective is, I think, 12 years old, going on 12 years old now. Insights for Life going on 11. And those businesses and everything that I'm up to, you all have been a very important part of it. I mean, you are the engine that keeps it moving. The encouragement. You know, one thing I'll say about this community, for every discouraging email I get, there are 4 or 5 in the inbox that I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad, because of what you're saying about what I said, you know. And even though those notes, the encouraging notes are short. Linnell, thank you so much. That was amazing, right? The discouraging notes are long. Here are all the reasons I didn't like what you said, right? But you all keep it moving. You help me keep moving. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the phone calls. I appreciate the fact that you even tune in. You don't have to tune in. I don't take that for granted. I really want you all to know that. I really do appreciate it. I want you to know that I take these 2 hours very seriously. I'm very thoughtful, prayerful, meditative about what I bring to you all. And I'm grateful for this opportunity because it keeps me sharp. It keeps me sharp. And so thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for what it is that you've provided me as a gift over the last 10 years. And I'm really looking forward to 2024. I'm looking to 2024. I'm looking forward to growing. And one of the commitments I'm making going into 2024, and you may notice it already, but one of the commitments is to get better at persuading you. And you say, Linnell, why is that? Because I believe that many of you are right on the edge of greatness. And just like the story I told in terms of the doctors washing their hands, there's an action that just one simple action you're not taking. There's one simple thing you're not doing. And my purpose is to help myself and others live the best life possible. And I am fully committed to that. I am fully 100% committed to that. I take no qualms about the blessings that I've received. I know the blessings I've received have come because of the commitment I have to this community. And in many ways, the commitment that you guys have back. And so I'm taking that commitment deeper, and I'm doing everything that I know how to do if I can just push you off the edge of greatness, right? Like if I can just push you where you have to make the leap, that is what I intend to do. That is what I intend to do. And so if you keep listening, just know the plan is to turn it up. The plan is to make it just a little bit hotter in the morning, on Sunday morning, 7 a.m. To 9 a.m. The plan is to really, truly take it all to the next level. So that way we all can grow. I started this morning with my story. I would not be here if someone else hadn't poured into me, if others hadn't poured into me, if different leaders hadn't poured into me. And I feel an obligation to take everything that I have learned, all the lessons I've been given, all the books that I've read, every video I've watched, every podcast that I've listened to that has made a difference for me. I feel an obligation to then share it with you all. And that is what I intend to do continually in 2024 and beyond. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do not take this for granted. I take the position of leadership very, very seriously. I believe leaders have a huge responsibility, and anyone that is talking on these airwaves, they are positioned as a leader. We influence the thoughts of those that listen, for the good or for the worse. And I take that very seriously, and I just want you all to know that I'm committed, I'm doubling down, and I'm looking forward to serving you and supporting you in 2024. God bless you all. God bless your families. Please be safe. Enjoy the holidays safely. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourself mentally. Take care of yourself physically. But most of all, take care of yourself spiritually. God is good. He is awesome. He is the one and only. And it's because of him, I firmly believe, that we all will have the opportunity to see a new calendar year. And so thank God ultimately for the opportunity, and thank each and every one of you. Hey, my inspired peoples, Linnell Harris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach Linnell Harris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart
at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.